college wrestling is back on Iowa PBS.
Hello, everyone.
Join me, Tim Johnson, along with Wartburg coaching legend Jim Miller for 5 weeks of exciting college duels on your statewide network and online at iowapbs.org. Our next matchup features Dubuque's Loras College taking on Co. in Cedar Rapids. Let's go. Tuesday night at 7 on Iowa PBS.
Attention all campers.
Keith Murphy.
What I do have are a very particular set of skills. Skills I've acquired over a very long career.
Andy Fales.
I'm telling you straight, it's my way or the highway.
Powered by AD.
Just a bit outside.
Murf and Andy. Proudly presented by Ramsey Subaru and BMW of Des Moines. Live and on demand across Iowa everywhere from the Channel Seed Studios. Murf and Andy. Connected by Cellular Advantage.
Let's do it on a fun Friday here. Welcome to Murf and Andy. And Andy, that classic nostalgic open hits differently today with AD's part with just a bit outside. Bob Uecker, we knew this day would come, gone at age 90, but it still hits kind of hard. I didn't know Bob Uecker, but he felt like a friend or somebody in the family.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, we had this guy in so many different ways for so long, entertaining us. I don't know. You'd have to be pretty old to remember a world without Bob Uecker in it. I'm not just talking about him being alive in it, but like being a character in it. He was part of the 1964 World Series champion St. Louis Cardinals. So I certainly grew up knowing that he was a part of that team. That was one of those teams you just, everybody, no matter what age you were, you knew the players on that team, whether they played a lot or not. And then, of course, he went on to become the voice of the Milwaukee Brewers. And then he was, just the transcendent star, one of the transcendent stars of those amazing Miller Lite commercials in the 70s and 80s. Those were so funny. And he was so good at that. Yeah. And then he's, goes on to star in Major League. And then it just seemed like for many years, he was the biggest star on the Milwaukee Brewers, wasn't he? I mean,
54 seasons with the Brewers. And yeah, he's kind of the
they would have roster. Yeah, they would have rosters full of nobodies. But they had Bob Uecker in the booth. And so somehow they were more entertaining, more legitimate that way, and he kept that job for forever. And everybody wanted Bob Uecker. I'll play a little bit of this later on in more. I mean, he would come to St. Louis, and my God, I mean, just everybody wanted him to be a part of their big night. They wanted him to speak. They wanted him to do Q&As with fans. They wanted to get him together with his old teammates. They wanted any part of Bob Uecker.
He was such a great storyteller and such a gifted comic. I mean, just his timing.
The timing,
on jokes,
yeah, uncanny timing.
And just the way he would tell the story, it would draw you in. Like, if you haven't watched it and you have any interest in Bob Uecker, his Hall of Fame speech is just one funny story after another. And I mean, these Hall of Fame baseball players who are not easily impressed, they're just rolling in their seats. And it's full of some of the ones we've heard before, like the Braves want to sign me for $5,000. My dad said, we don't have that kind of money. Just the tossing around the football story, he and his dad trying for several days. And then, the neighbor saying, try putting some air in it. Just all the stories are so funny. And Major League, we mentioned, and it's in the Murf and Andy Open. And AD, you going to keep that there? You're not going to change it, right? Now it becomes an homage to Bob Uecker.
Yeah, I mean, he is my favorite part of my favorite sports movie. So yeah, no, that's in there for a reason, and it'll be in there forever.
I can remember. Go ahead.
Only thing you like about Wisconsin?
Yeah, and even that, like, he wasn't introduced to me as a Wisconsin thing, right? Like, I was probably 18 before I knew his name wasn't Harry Doyle. So he's the voice of the Indians to me.
I can remember being a kid and watching the light beer from Miller commercials, and see, I still say it that way, right? Because of those commercials. Light beer from Miller.
It's great branding.
It's Miller Lite. Yeah, it's just Miller Lite. But I can remember watching those commercials and my dad laughing hard at the commercials. And I only knew Bob Uecker because he was part of the 64 world champion Cardinals. And I didn't get this joke about him being a bad baseball player or not all that good. And my dad was no help because I said something to the tune of, Dad, why is this funny? Was he a bad baseball player? And my dad said, no, he was an outstanding baseball player. And I said, oh, okay. And so then I went on, and then I remember having a discussion with friends or something or somebody else, and was just like, yeah, he was a good baseball player. And they're like, no, that's the point of this joke, is he wasn't a good baseball player, or he wasn't that good. He didn't play very much. And then I went back to my dad and said, you told me he was a good baseball player, but the whole point of the joke is he was a bad baseball player. My dad looked at me and he goes, Andy, he played professionally. He was a great baseball player.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, my dad would not let you off the hook on stuff like that. But I mean, that's true. I mean, he's a major league baseball player. He's one of the best players in the world. So, but the joke is that of course he didn't play all that much, and he was a bullpen catcher for the most part, but he was still part of some great teams, has a ring, and played with some of the greatest players ever, but he just had that gift of being able to describe the world around him like nobody else could. And that is what ultimately landed him in the Hall of Fame. And you just can't imagine a baseball Hall of Fame without Bob Uecker in it, right?
He became such a close friend to so many legends, but like Hank Aaron loved Bob Uecker, got the biggest kick out of him. And Bob teammates. Gibson, he helped humanize Bob Gibson, of course, famously in that they both got fined for that team photo where they're holding hands. And you can see Bob Uecker doing this, but Bob Gibson, the guy who said he would throw out his own mother if she crowded the plate, you don't expect Bob Gibson to do like a prank that they would end up getting fined for. But Uecker had that effect on so many people, and it's just such a huge loss for baseball and the people of Wisconsin. And it's interesting, Major League, because it's a great movie start to finish for those of us who love sports movies and love baseball movies. Probably most people watching this love the movie Major League. Yeah. But Uecker kind of steals the movie as Harry Doyle, and they just told him to ad-lib. Yeah. And fascinatingly, he said he never watched the movie. Like he just went out there and did it, but didn't watch the movie. That's hard for me to comprehend, him not watching it. But here are some of his best one-liners from Major League.
Hello again, everybody. Harry Doyle here, welcoming all you friends of the feather to another season of Indians baseball. A lot of new faces in Chief Wahoo's tribe this year, and hopefully we'll have some of the names that go with those faces before their first at-bat. Bonnie, anything to add? No. He's not the best color man in the league for nothing, folks. Just a reminder, fans, about Die Hard Night coming up here at the stadium. Free admission to anyone who was actually alive the last time the Indians won a pennant. Vaughn into the windup in his first offering. Just a bit outside. He tried the corner and missed. So the Tribe drops its third straight on this trip, 6-1 to the Rangers. For the Indians, one run on, let's see, one hit. That's all. We got one goddamn hit.
You can't say goddamn on the air.
Don't worry, nobody's listening anyway.
They're so great. And just a bit outside is about as famous as it gets at this point. I mean, that line is just everywhere.
And I mean, how much is he really acting when he's playing that part? I mean, and I think a lot of people didn't realize that he did baseball at that point, that he was a play-by-play guy. He just absolutely hits it out of the park. He didn't need a script. Probably didn't need to know anything about, didn't need to watch the movie. Yeah, he was that perfect.
He was so good. The Guest House Tavern and Oyster in West Des Moines sets the table for today's Murph and Andy show, and it includes ISU Punks KU, Allen versus Jackson, and Runny Nose Move. That's all coming up, courtesy of Guest House Tavern, Northwoods-inspired Midwestern hospitality. But now, high or low since the last show.
Presented by Wealth Charter Retirement Planning and Tax.
We are celebrating 25 years in 2025. Tim Hawkins and his team at Wealth Charter ready to help simplify the retirement planning, tax prep, and financial management process for you. I'm going to go high here. Andrew, did you get my video?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Andrew,
I wanted to show you guys this. I get to see this just about every day as I'm doing the show, but Lewis loves the mailman. The mailman gets out. How ironic is this? The mailman, you know, the old adage that mailmen and dogs don't get along. Look at Lewis. This mailman gets out, plays with him for a little bit, throws the ball for him, and both dogs love him. Isn't that sweet?
That is sweet. That's nice. Yeah, just busting those stereotypes. And thank you to your dogs, because mailmen are some of our most loyal listeners.
Oh, yeah. They work really hard.
Thank you.
That. Yeah, he brings a ball back there. Yeah. Doesn't want him to leave. He's out there waiting for him right now.
I'm going low, which is rare on a Friday, and it's not a big low, but it's a disappointing one. My son, Cade, it's his birthday this weekend. Happy birthday, Cade. And he loves movies, and he loves movies that teach him something he didn't know. So after hearing our show Wednesday, he was really looking forward on his birthday to me taking him to September 5, the story about the 1972 Munich Olympics and the way it was handled by the media, and just everything about it looks compelling to me. And we were both really excited. And I heard from Russell out at the Palms, our good friend, they have pulled the movie for a second time because they think it's going to get many Oscar nominations. So they're going to wait and try to capitalize on that buzz, because like the movie SNL about the first season in 1975, there's probably not a big audience for this movie. So they're hoping that helps. So just a minor low, but can't see that.
And now you have to get Kate a different birthday present.
Yeah, right.
I don't know what it's going to be now. That was it. Interact on YouTube. Email Murph_Andy at iowaeverywhere.com. On X, it's Murph_Andy. It's all powered by the Cellular Advantage with 35 regional locations. Proud partner with U.S. Cellular since 1993. Let's get the buzz.
The Buzz. Brought to you by Logier Heating and Cooling.
Logier Heating and Cooling, dedicated to providing heating and cooling solutions to Des Moines area families. The Buzz, we're going back a couple of days, but number 2, Iowa State beats number 9, Kansas by 17. Down a starter, Milan Momcilovic, for a month or more. The Cyclone's depth puts KU away. And Andy, I still don't think we saw Iowa State's A game, but their B game is good enough to put away a talented team.
Yeah, this was a really impressive night. It had a lot of elements to this game. I felt at a couple of points that Kansas was about to tie it up and take the lead, maybe take over. But Iowa State just kept finding new ways to keep them at bay. You saw a lot from this Iowa State team. You just saw a lot of players chipping in on this game. So clearly the first half belonged to Curtis Jones. He was just on fire. He was incredible. The final flurry to end the first half was really impressive. But then Kansas doubles him, really locks him down in the second half. But then every other Cyclone steps up, and you just saw a lot from that guy, Taman Lipsey. You see Jefferson chips in with a few key moments. Deshaun Jackson has a really good half. They did not. They turned the ball over a lot. They did not have their best game, but apparently they didn't need their best game. They still ended up winning this game pretty comfortably against a Kansas team that's not, the best Kansas team that we've ever seen, but it's still Kansas. They're still loaded.
Right. Curtis Jones with 20 points in the first half. He was a man on fire. Then he scores another 5 in the second half. Some of those threes in the first half were what we've come to know as logo threes, although he wasn't actually standing on a logo to shoot them. But those are really deep shots, and it's fun to watch. And man, that takes the roof off Hilton Coliseum.
The last one of the game that he shot there in the second half was just blew the lid off of Hilton Coliseum. That was a really deep one, and this was a game where I think I heard from, I don't know, 5 different friends that were sitting in the stands watching this game. They're a really hot ticket right now. People are planning their lives around these games.
Rest of the season is sold out at Hilton Coliseum. No surprise there. Now, you know the scramble drill after news happens and all that we're doing at the station, trying to get out a couple of posts real quick about what happened in the game. And as a couple of our viewers here have already noted, I use the word dominate to say Iowa State dominates Kansas, wins by 17. And this really upset some Kansas fans. They did not dominate. Iowa State did not dominate. And one media member who was also upset that the word dominate was used because it just felt like that wasn't the right term. And I'll own the fact that I don't always find the perfect word. You're just trying to crank it out with kind of a feeling of what you're thinking in that moment. So dominates might or might not be the right word, but we are going to turn it over to a quickie poll from WCI Pools and Spas in Ames and Urbandale.
Did Iowa State dominate Kansas in the Cyclone's 17-point win? Yes or no?
I think there's a couple of ways of looking at this. I use the word dominate, so I'll say yes. I do understand someone feeling like this was not domination because, as Andy just noted, Kansas was threatening a couple of times to maybe get back in the game. However, the word dominates means to control, to exert influence over. And there was not a point in this game where it ever crossed my mind that Kansas was going to win. So I think you can say Iowa State controlled and influenced this game throughout. But if someone says they don't think it's domination, I'm not offended at all.
Yeah, I mean, there were times in the second half where Kansas got it down to a one possession game, or one score game. There were a few times where they would go on a run and they got it down to a 5-point game. It happened a number of times and Iowa State overcame it. So you did believe that Iowa State was going to have an answer each time. I didn't ever watch that second half with a feeling of dread that Iowa State was going to lose that game, right? And I don't think that I feel that way usually when they're playing at home. I just don't. I just always feel like they're going to figure out some way. But, Kansas got it down to 3 points, right? At one point in the second half, they got it down to 3 points. And, they had to work really hard to do it. And Iowa State was throwing the ball away and wasn't playing well at the time. So everything had to align for them to get it to that point. Mm-hmm. Dominates maybe a stronger word than I would probably use, but statistically, you could hammer out a good argument, Murph, that it was. And, it's hard to ignore the final score, 17-point win.
Right.
Looks like a dominating win. Kansas was still Kansas, though. They played hard. They had really good interior defense. Bill Self works the clock better as well as any coach in America. The team didn't fall apart, but I did not think that Kansas was going to win the game. I'm more pessimistic than probably a lot of people as I'm watching our teams play sometimes, but I still thought that Iowa State was clearly the better team.
And by the way, some Cyclone fans really piled on the one Kansas fan in particular who used profanity to describe my reporting and everything. I was really upset about it. And I appreciated people feeling like they were standing up for me. But this is every fan base. Every fan base has these fans that get emotional and they're in their feelings at the end. And if you say something that they feel like diminishes their team or insults their team in any way, they come at you. And that's not unique to Kansas. It's not unique to Iowa State. It's not unique to Iowa. We know this. So this isn't picking on KU fans. Now, Deshaun Jackson did not start in this game either. TJ Otzelberger did not start him because Jackson missed a mandatory film session. And I think this is great. Now, he still exerted great influence over the game with 17 points and 5 or 6 rebounds. But this is what you need to do as a head coach. And when TJ came to the postgame, he didn't act like there was some mystery about why Jackson didn't start. He said he missed a mandatory film session, and we waited to see how he'd respond to not being in the starting lineup. That's good coaching. That's what you should do. And then you should be transparent about it so that speculation doesn't run to something that's much worse than missing a mandatory film session.
Yeah, when that's the situation, you should share it.
It's not a health thing. It's not a HIPAA violation.
There are other things that you understand why coaches play it.
Yes.
Their cards close to their chest. So I get that, but in that kind of situation,
discipline.
Well, and it's a way to help enforce that too. You go ahead and tell the media what the dude did. I think it makes it less likely that he does it again. I mean, certainly what really hurt him is he didn't get to start in the game. Everybody noticed that, but then they knew what happened.
Right.
And if they had lost that game, then people would have may have blamed him for that. I mean, they may have been saying, hey, you missed a damn meeting and Kansas came out and got a red hot start on us that we couldn't ever really overcome. I mean, that's possible, but I bet he doesn't want to miss another meeting after this. Because first of all, it just looks like too much fun.
Curtis Jones starting, Jackson not starting, and then it's followed by TJ Otzelberger and Curtis Jones himself.
It looked like to me tonight that one guy really enjoyed starting and another guy was really pissed off because he didn't.
Yeah.
And they both played great.
Deshaun, once he made that choice and that decision, then at that point it was out of his hands. Now he had to respond to it in a positive way. How did he practice? How did he prepare? What type of energy did he bring into the game? And certainly thought he gave us a great spark coming in off the bench.
I just want to play a lot of minutes and win games. And, I mean, I could do that both ways, whether it's starting or coming off the bench. So I don't really think – it looked like I guess it made a difference, but really, I was just doing the same thing I feel like I would do if I came off the bench.
That video courtesy of WHO 13, Mark Freund on the scene there. And I always feel like Bill Self really appreciates Cyclone basketball fans. I think he looks forward to his trips to Hilton Coliseum.
Well, there have been some times where he didn't seem to have quite so much fun, but those are different kinds of games. He was younger. Right. It was just kind of different. But, I mean, it's a lot easier to respect the visiting coach when you send him home with a loss. But I don't. How do you not respect him? I mean, he is one of the best coaches in the history of college basketball. I don't think that's overstating him. He is a phenomenal coach. He's been phenomenal at every stop. He has, he's been there at Kansas so long. He's really seen several different eras of college basketball.
Yeah, 21st year.
Well, and he's negotiated them all. You can kind of do it every single way. But the one thing that that he knows is that crowd is going to be up for Kansas. It doesn't matter if they have this year's great team or one of Steve Prohm's terrible teams. I mean, a shot at Kansas at Hilton Coliseum is a really big deal to Cyclone fans. It's a big deal to every other team in the Big 12, but it's something special in Ames. And I think it's because they've had a lot of success against Kansas in that building. A lot of iterations of Kansas. and a lot of iterations of Iowa State. But, you know, that they make that place really uncomfortable for those players. It's really loud. They do their homework. You see all those same faces behind the Kansas bench, right? That Jim Carrey looking dude is over there yelling.
Cyclone Jim Carrey.
Yeah. You know, I mean, people probably hang on to their seats for a long time at Hilton Coliseum. So a guy like Bill Self, that's been there that many times, probably recognizes a lot of those people behind him.
One of the best hair systems too, don't you think? I mean, that's a good one.
It is. I mean, it's really good. I mean, I guess, I mean, think about the advertising opportunity that he misses there. I mean, if he just goes, if he's like, hey guys, look, you know, lifts that thing off,
pops it right off.
Many of you didn't know. And my hair has gotten grayer as I've gotten older, and they just changed up the system a little bit. And it's always looked good. Here's where you can buy one for yourself.
Grimaldi's fan photo winner is Cato Stonebrook. Cato Stonebrook enjoying a Cyclone win while holding a child. Maybe is that Cato's kid? I'm assuming.
I think it's a friend. It's a friend's kid.
Okay, it's a friend's kid.
I mean, if you can get a baby, a dog, sports fandom, a beer back on the shelf there, you get all those things in one photo. You got a pretty good shot.
This could be it looks like an attic or could be a basement or could be a garage.
Like a man cave,
maybe,
garage turned into a man cave or something.
This reminds me of the 2015 Big Ten championship game, Andy. I was over at your house with my wife and newborn son, and when Iowa scored that touchdown in the fourth quarter, my son was sleeping in the corner. We all had to like quietly cheer. That's kind of what this reminds me of. Yeah,
that's how long that's been.
Yeah, that's awesome, Cato. And Cato is going to the Grimaldi's Cold Brick Oven Pizzeria on Mills Civic Parkway in West Des Moines. I guess we don't know where he's going with his $50 gift card.
He is going to West
District.
Des Moines, yeah.
He is going to West Des Moines. He could also go to District at Prairie Trail in Ankeny. Grimaldi's, thanks for taking care of the fans out there. We appreciate it. More hot topics here on a Murph and Andy Friday. Iowa is at UCLA tonight. The Hawkeyes have been in the LA area with the wildfires for 6 days now. Arrived Sunday, lost to USC by 10. What night was that? Was that Monday night or Tuesday night?
Tuesday night.
Yeah, lost to USC. UCLA is 2-4 in the Big Ten. Iowa's 3-3. So Iowa's actually a better record in the conference. But what we don't know, especially on the road, is will the Hawkeyes play defense? Will the Hawkeyes rebound? We know they'll score enough to win if they do those other two things.
UCLA is kind of a mess right now, right?
Yeah. Want to hear how much of a mess? Here's head coach Mick Cronin.
We don't play. We're soft. So don't tell me you want to win. Like, just don't tell me you want to win. So don't tell me you want to win. It's crazy, you know, and it's every day. I'm tired of it. It's every day. I have the most energy of anybody at practice every day. I'm upset with everybody in that locker room, my assistant coaches and my players. I mean, I don't need to do anything else. I almost got 500 wins. I'm only 53. I mean, it's a joke. It's a joke. But yet I come in and I have more passion and energy and pride than everybody in. That's the problem. So what the truth of it has been, it's really hard to coach people that are delusional.
Jeez.
The hungry dog gets the bone. We got guys that think they're way better than they are. They're nice kids. They're completely delusional about who they are.
Who wrote this? Steve Alford?
Yeah. You know, I'm not close to the UCLA basketball situation there. I don't know how bad it's been. I don't know if fans feel this way already. They feel this way also, and he's kind of piggybacking on that. But to the naked ear, this doesn't sound good. I mean, this sounds like a coach that's going way too far.
Yes,
and will have a hard time keeping control of the locker room. at this point with this kind of language.
Yeah, you're right. He goes too far because we understand he's calling his players out a little, as we've known many coaches to do. Maybe
it's an old tactic. Yeah,
Larry Stacey did it all the time, especially
Yeah.
when they were doing well. I mean, that would be his way of trying to keep them humble, is to not let their heads get big. But the where he really goes off the rails here to me, Andy, he calls out not only the players and his assistant coaches, but then he goes on to brag about himself, how he doesn't even need this because he almost has 500 wins and he cares more and he's prouder and he's hungrier and all this stuff. I mean, it turns into this really unseemly humble brag about about how great he is and how much everybody else sucks.
And I think that's what really where it takes a turn, right? I mean, because we've heard Bob Huggins do this so many times where he would call his players out but he didn't ever, take a turn to, praising himself or exempting himself from any blame.
Really?
I don't think you have to come out and say it's my fault that these players haven't done this, but you can just say nothing.
Right.
You don't go so far as to say, hey, look, I'm doing everything perfectly. Because who believes you are doing everything perfectly if your team is doing all that shit? I mean, you're the coach. I mean, if all that's wrong with them, you deserve some of the blame.
Yeah.
Nobody in their right mind is going to say, just absolve you.
You pick the players. You picked
the
players.
Them. You had the off season with them.
You're coaching them.
Yeah. I mean, you've had every other waking moment with them thus far. You deserve some of the blame. No one is going to think you don't.
Absolutely. So despite all of that, UCLA is a 7-point favorite tonight. That probably goes a lot to Iowa's road reputation. AD, expectations or thoughts of Hawkeye fans going into this road game at UCLA tonight?
I think expectations are low. I mean, you pointed it out. They haven't played defense or rebounded away from home at all. And so even though they're scoring 85, 89 points a game, they're still losing by double digits. And this is a mess of a UCLA team. If you get out of there with a win, you feel good about the road trip, 1-1, the LA trip. But I don't think there's a lot of hope that's good. And then really that extends to the rest of the season where it's just kind of the same old. We're mired in the same thing under Fran McCaffrey, where if this team shoots the lights out and finds some sort of defense, they can beat just about anybody. But most nights they can't put that together.
That game is at Pauley Pavilion. There had been some questions about, because the campus is empty for the reasons we understand with the wildfires, but it will be played at Pauley Pavilion tonight on FS1. The Iowa women led Nebraska by 11 points with 6 minutes to go, lost that lead, and then lost the game in overtime. Free throw shooting was bad again, over 50% this time, but still not what you want from the free throw line. And that's 4 straight losses, first time that's happened in more than a decade. I think part of what's happened here, Andy, is Iowa got off to that 8-0 start, and people started thinking, oh, not going to miss a beat. We expected growing pains. You have a new first-year head coach, and you lost the best player in women's college basketball history, and now here are the growing pains.
I don't think there's any question about that. I mean, we were served up a mirage early on, probably. Teams have hot and cold streaks throughout the season. You start the season on a hot streak. That's one of the things that's going to happen when you inevitably fall into a colder streak. Is people are going to feel hoodwinked. I've heard some people come down really hard on Jan Jensen.
Too hard.
You haven't seen enough.
Got to give her some time.
You haven't seen enough of Jan Jensen as a head coach to make that kind of judgment yet.
And how about some grace for what she's done for the program for the past 20 years? Give her some time. It's too soon to reach a verdict.
It is, but I will say, it was just I think the fact that Iowa feels like they put themselves on the map as a women's basketball program, and then when there was a chance to go out and get a head coach, there really wasn't much of a search. There really didn't seem like there was much of a, hey, let's go find who the best coach is. It really was like, hey, let's elevate her. And I think at the time it made a lot of sense, but now I think there's a reason that there's some second guessing of was she the right person for this job to kind of take this program to the next level, or was it just the easy hire?
You're right. Everything you said is right. That does fuel a lot of this feedback we're getting, but I think it's too soon to give that feedback. Give her a chance to figure this out, to find the right combination. And as she says here in the post game, free throws.
Yeah.
You can do a lot of things, but you just can't make free throws for them. I think that's the mental game, when kind of probably hangovers from, you turn that Maryland game somehow in that second half, right? I don't think the free throws are a problem as much, so that was just as, we had it, with what did we have, a 10, 11 point lead or something? I don't know what we had. Was that right? 11, and we just had a pretty flat group out there.
Actually, Blake Hornstein with the video there from Hawkeye headquarters. Thank you, Blake. So, yeah.
I mean, Iowa should still beat Nebraska at home.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not too much of a stretch. Talk about taking the team to the next level. That's too much. Okay, that's too. What's the next level?
You've been in the past two national
super championship game.
Yeah.
I mean, what
past two Final Fours?
Yeah. I mean, but they had the best player in the history of women's college basketball. Okay, that's not anything less than gigantic, than once in a lifetime. You lose that player, you're going to get where everybody knows this. I'm not telling anybody anything that they don't already know. I mean, you lose that player, or if you don't have Megan Gustafson, if you don't have the best player in college basketball, your team is probably not going to be as good. I feel like we can say that with confidence, but at the same time, some of these losses that we've seen are still games that they should have won, despite the fact that they don't have Caitlin Clark this year, or Lisa Bluter, or Kate Martin, or any of the others. But you got to give her more time at this point.
You do, and you mentioned Megan Gustafson being a National Player of the Year, and yet there's still a big step up from Megan Gustafson's impact on a game to what Caitlin Clark did. And if anything, and this seems unfathomable, but if anything, Caitlin Clark was probably underrated in the minds of some people. Iowa ended South Carolina's nearly 50-game winning streak because Caitlin Clark went nuts in that game in all facets, points, assists, everything, controlled the game, and made sure that others were wide open for shots. That happened. Then the next year, LSU rematch in the Sweet 16, blew them away, and she played one of the great games in college basketball history. So you need somebody special to pull something like that off. And I know there's so much Caitlin Clark fatigue that just bringing her up, especially with some Cyclone fans, makes them annoyed. Oh gosh, they're mentioning Caitlin Clark again. She's from Des Moines, West Des Moines. She's from Iowa, and she's the biggest female sports star in the world right now. I mean, this isn't something we've made up or manufactured.
Jeez,
It's
go again.
It's crazy. All right, so Iowa was favored in the game last night by 7.5. Mm-hmm. Again, with a post, I used the word upset. Man, did this make Nebraska fans upset. Anybody who pays attention to basketball knew
these are
Nebraska
problems,
was going to win.
These are problems that you get for having so many Facebook followers, Murph. I mean, the problem is they spill over into these other states. They spill into Kansas and Nebraska, and you somehow are going to get some of these people that follow you. They shouldn't follow you.
I can see what's going to happen, too. This is always, Andy, we've been partners on the air for more than 20 years, and I can see it coming. We always know when it's coming. I can see the testy coming from Hawkeye fans. It's coming because this Iowa State men's basketball team is getting so much attention as a legitimate national championship contender. The football team won 11 games. The women's basketball team at Iowa State started the year in the top 10, but has faded. But the one thing Hawkeye fans felt good about, at least initially, was, well, the women's basketball team is going to keep the program up here, national power, becoming a blue blood, all of that. So I'm starting to see more and more of those.
I see where you're going here.
Yep. I'm getting the predictable comments now of like, well, yeah, hey, what, another positive story about the Cyclones for old Cyclone Murph. And this is what happens. It goes the other way, of course. We all know this. When Iowa's doing really well and Iowa State is struggling in the high-profile sports, then it becomes like, sports director at WHO, World Hawkeye Organization, not surprised by this at all. And they somehow, and I'm talking about the fringe fans here, but some of them just can't put it together that, when a team is doing well, there's more favorable coverage and commentaries, and when a team is not doing well, it tends to be more negative.
Yeah, well, when I retire from broadcasting, I'm going to go ahead and get my PhD in a deep dive study. This is going to be my thesis here.
Cyhawk?
Yeah, I mean, or just sports psychology and like sports fan psychology, not like sports psychology. Like, how do you make yourself into the best version of yourself that you can, Matt Campbell, sports psychology. I'm talking about like sports fan psychology, like, what the hell is wrong with these people type of psychology, that kind of stuff. That's what I'm talking about. Like it's, you can tell like the point where the conditions are right, where the atmosphere is perfect for this type of storm. It usually happens when one of the programs that has enjoyed more success than the other in a particular sport begins losing in that sport at the same time that the rival program in the corresponding sport begins winning. So Iowa State fans had the women's basketball market cornered for a while. And then they started losing that. And Lisa Bluter started getting National Players of the Year and going, farther in the tournament. And that upset Cyclone fans. When they got Caitlin Clark, that really got Cyclone fans upset because not only was their rival doing well, they were doing well in a sport that previously Cyclone fans had been better in. So we've heard, when Dan McCarney came in and started beating the Hawkeyes in football and Iowa State had a more entertaining football team, they were better for a short time there. Oh my God, the Hawkeye fans were so angry. The sound off voicemail was filled with pissed off old men all day long. When that happened, when Larry Eustace established the Cyclones as a vastly superior men's basketball program than Iowa fans were all pissed at that. But when then the table turns and Fran McCaffrey is beating Iowa State and Iowa State is having all kinds of trouble in men's basketball, then the Cyclone fans were all mad about that. Yeah, it takes both of those things at once, right? You can't just have one program doing well. You have to have the corresponding program at the rival school doing worse, doing poorly.
Yes, and it's not all fans. Stipulate that. It's not all fans. Maybe it's not even most fans, but it's the most vocal fans, and that's why we hear so much. And sometimes...
Well, they're kind of entertaining too, right? So we tend to take their sound bites and use them.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, they get amplified.
Yeah.
And sometimes young journalists, young broadcasters, they'll ask me, like, how do you have 100% complete objectivity? And I'll say, you can't. All you can do is have full disclosure because we're human beings. I believe the people who pretend that emotions or feelings never enter into their mind whatsoever are being disingenuous. Like I will tell you, I like Jan Jensen. I think she's a wonderful person, and I hope she does well. I like TJ Otzelberger. I have been friends with him and known him for a long time. I wanted him to get the job when Steve Prohm got the job. I thought he should have gotten the job back then. I did a commentary on it. He didn't get it, and he did get it later. it's worked out. But I like TJ. So that I still try to be fair in everything I say and do, and I'll try to be fair to the Iowa women in everything I say or do. But those things factor in, just like I like Tom Davis. I like Dan McCarney. I like Kirk Ferentz. You know, I don't know Matt Campbell very well because he's hard to get to know. But those things enter into our minds even as we strive to be fair, as Andy, I know you do.
Well, and experience is what makes the difference there, and it's why it's so important to keep experienced journalists, experienced, people
Something
who
more difficult.
It is, and it's only, rushing the demise of real media, real journalism. I mean, when you join the force as a kid, you're full of opinions, and you think you know it all, and and nobody listens to you, so you just have to speak as loud as you possibly can. And you may come in there feeling one way and you want to be a champion for this side. But then as you're there longer, what you tend to figure out is that, A, you don't know nearly as much as you thought you did. There is almost always another side of the story. A lot of the people that you were championing early on turn out to be assholes, or they have their own problems, or the people on the other side you figure out are good people too. They just don't agree. And you end up seeing, and you end up being wrong about stuff too, right? You're wrong. And then you realize, oh, this is why you got to toe the line here. Because, I mean, if you throw all of your weight into one side and that side ends up being wrong, the wrong side, well, then you're wrong too, because you were over there. That's why you try to stay in the middle. I mean, eventually, if you're here long enough, you see good people and bad people on both sides. Mm-hmm. You see, a program have a bad coach, and then that coach leaves, and then they get a good coach. And if you had gotten sideways with the entire program over that one coach, you're really screwed, right? Because you don't have a relationship with them anymore, or it's strained and it's harder to cover them. So, we were talking the other day about what the Des Moines Register had done wrong. How they've lost a lot of their clout. And there are a lot of reasons. But, we said one of the reasons was that they came in and they fired Sean Keeler, who was, one of the cuts, he didn't do anything wrong, but it was one of the cuts they made early on was cutting their true position of sports columnist, and they lost that. Well, one of the other things they did really, really wrong, and they're not alone. Everybody else did this kind of stuff too, TV stations as well, is they cut the high salaries, the experienced people. They cut them early because they were
gave them
salaries.
Incentives to retire.
Yeah, they bought them out, or our friend Randy Peterson, he
gave that the stiff arm.
Oh, for years, yeah. He held that at bay for a really long time and didn't want to retire. He wanted to stay, but so many others did. I mean, Tom Witowski was one of those left, and the Des Moines Register lost a lot when Tom Witowski decided to retire. I mean, he had all those connections, he had all that credibility, and he was a guy that had been around the block enough times to know that you have to, you just got to keep, going the straight and narrow there the best you can, because sooner or later, all that stuff is going to change. Mm-hmm. And, all of your allegiances, they're going to get changed over. They're not going to be there forever, but you will be. So you've got to keep an open mind and say, all right, maybe these fans that are driving me crazy are all from one school, but sooner or later they'll be from another school, and you may get to know those fans personally and they don't drive you crazy anymore. So it's the experience and the time on the job, and just the rounds that you put in that teach you that valuable lesson. I don't think there's any other way to learn it.
Right.
But if, you wipe the slate clean, you get rid of all those experienced journalism and you bring in a bunch of cheap kids, it's going to be a really long time until you have another staff of experienced journalists that knows all that stuff.
And you're right. It's happening everywhere. I mean, it is. It's happening at all local television stations. It's happening at newspapers, websites. The experience, the cuts, they continue, and there's not really any end in sight. And another thing, just one more thing, right out of the school, the older I get, the smarter I realize my dad was, that kind of thing, or your mom.
Yeah.
Because that's occurred to me many times.
Because they had learned those lessons.
Yeah,
they knew that from experience.
And some coaches come in. We know some coaches. Maybe not. We might not even think of the same coach, but we know some coaches that come in, and over time, the money and virtually unchecked power they're given, they change. They
Right.
change into something different than they were when they first got into that position, because they kind of forget where they came from, because they're suddenly, especially if they're in football, but also men's basketball, those are the two most powerful positions. Boy, that's a powerful person at that school, the head football coach. And sometimes they do change over time.
And I think they can change in both ways. I mean, they can become more difficult to deal with, and they can become easier to deal with. I mean, I think
True.
I think Kirk Ferentz is an example of a guy who he was never unpleasant. But over the years, he has gotten more pleasant. I mean, he's become. I mean, he's clearly secure in his position.
Less contentious.
I think he knows that. But I mean, he really is. I mean, he's just gotten to be a better guy. I think. I mean, an easier guy to deal with. Sometimes those coaches age the same way the rest of us do. You get older, you tend to let go of a lot of the stuff that bothered you early or drove you early. Put fire in your belly. Right. I mean, that's a fun term, but it also just kind of means you're pissed off all the time, or you're playing with a chip on your shoulder all the time. And as you get older, you want to let go of that kind of stuff. Coaches do it too.
Yeah, you used to be like Jon Snow with the entire army coming at him, and you just have your sword. You'd be out there on social media.
I love to get out there and fight.
I'd take on everybody.
Yeah, and has any battle that anybody's ever had, fought on social media ever made their life better?
Probably not. Probably not. But bottom line, be fair. 100% objectivity is not attainable for most of us. Andy's in a Drake hat. We got to get a Drake mention. They bounced back after starting 12-0, losing two in a row.
A lot of people in the comments asking if that's a DMAC hat.
Oh, man.
A DMAC hat?
Yeah.
Is there
the courts
hat?
will decide. The courts will decide if that's a DMAC hat.
That's the Bulldogs. That's the Bulldogs.
The Bulldogs.
Hey, listen to this. So they won their 15th game the other night. They're 15-2. Again, still just blown away by this story this year. It's incredible.
15-2.
15-2.
Good record.
Which, forget the 2, just the 15. You know how big a deal that is for Drake?
Let's hear it.
Lately, it's become like, these modern Drake fans. Give me a break.
These newcomers.
These kids.
These kids these days.
Do you realize that from 1988 to 2006, 18 years.
All right, so we got Rudy Washington.
Yeah, Big Booty
Kurt
Rudy.
Kanaski. Is Giacoletti in that era? Or is he later? He's later.
I think you got that's all the way up until Dr. Tom starts turning it around.
Who's the guy whose head was kind of shaped like a beluga whale?
Jeez.
Oh, Mark Phelps. Yeah, no, he's after Keno.
Okay.
A beluga whale?
Shots fired.
I guess. Shots fired. Missile delivered. Ship sank. Torpedo launch successful. Yeah.
You're not wrong.
Jeez, Andrew. His name and everything.
I apologize. Honestly,
they're the smartest whales. They are, which is
I was trying to
something.
think, it's mammal. I was trying to think of a description where you would immediately go, oh yeah, I know who you're talking about. And I couldn't think of anything else. I'm sorry. I am sorry. I apologize.
All right. You're stealing my jam here. From 1988 through 2006, there was not a single season in which the Drake men's basketball team won 15 games. Not a single season.
And we're in mid-January and already
18
there.
seasons. Mid-January, we are already there with a team that was completely rebuilt in the offseason with guys from Division II. I mean, man, I can go all day on this kind of stuff. I mean, there is so much to draw from in the Drake shit pool.
It's a deep well.
It's a deep well. You could pull buckets of shit out all day long and never run out. When you're talking Drake, this is amazing what they have got going on right now. The hot hand that Brian Harden just keeps dealing new cards out of. Jesus.
He's done well.
Oh my God. And this team, despite 2 losses, which really devastated everybody, but come on. They are 15-2.
They've responded. They'll have growing pains too, but they've responded. We'll talk NFL playoffs later when Scott Sipker joins us. A reminder, January 25th, coming up next week, the Iowa Wild against the Texas Stars. That's a 6 p.m. game, and it is country night featuring a post-game concert by Dylan Scott. And Andy, this is Dylan Scott. It looks like he might be a model for a hat company or a
beard company.
A beard. Yeah, that's a strong beard. I mean,
that's a beard over a strong jaw there.
Yeah, the purchase of a ticket gets you the
curly
hockey
mullet.
game and the concert. Lower level tickets are limited, so to get those seats today. VIP pack still available. You can watch the concert from the ice and 2 for 1 on Confluence beers. Did I mention that Confluence is the official beer of the Murph and Andy show? 2 for 1 Confluence beers at Wells Fargo Arena for the Iowa Wild coming up. By the way, Andy, Confluence has a new beer. I want to tell you a little bit about.
Oh, yeah. I saw this the other day. All right, take a deep breath before you say the title.
All right, I have to find it because it's not something you can easily memorize. Okay, the release is on Valentine's Day.
Okay.
Ferryman's Peanut Butter Banana Bourbon Barrel Aged Russian Imperial Stout with peanuts and bananas. 13.4% ABV, and it contains nuts.
John and Josh over at Confluence, there are a lot of things. Verbose is one of them. They do this to bother us. This is for us. Because when we used to have to voice their ads over at the radio station, you couldn't do it. Like in one take, you have to take a breath in the middle of the title of one of their beers.
Ferryman's Peanut Butter Banana Bourbon Barrel Aged Russian Imperial Stout with peanuts and bananas contains nuts.
You did it. You were prepared.
I was prepared.
But you hadn't been reading a bunch of other stuff before that. It's not easy. All right, break that down one more time. I'll tell you what I'll tell you which way I'm going with this beer, whether it sounds good or it's not sounding as good as we go along with the title.
Well,
okay.
Ferryman's Peanut Butter Banana.
Ferryman, I like that. Ferryman.
Yeah, Ferryman.
Ferryman, whatever. I like that. Okay, that sounds good.
All right.
What's the next one?
Butter.
Okay, I'm down. I like peanut butter and beer is good. Yeah, I'm down. All right.
Banana.
Yeah, peanut butter banana sandwich. That's one of the greatest sandwiches ever.
Elvis used to have those fried peanut.
I'm all the way
fried peanut butter and banana sandwich, please.
All right, I'm all the way in right now. Keep going.
All right, bourbon barrel.
Love it.
Bourbon barrel. Okay.
Yeah. Age that in the bourbon barrel,
yep,
which just makes it stronger so you get drunk faster.
All right, bourbon barrel aged. Yes. Now we move to Russian Imperial Stout.
No, wait. Russian.
No,
see, then I'm out. I don't like that. I don't like Russian stuff very much.
You're an American.
Well, and other stuff like who said? Although that Irina's restaurant was pretty good, beef stroganoff is really good. Other than that, I mean, what else is there to Russian food? Like borscht, that beet soup stuff.
Right. Also, peanuts and bananas. Now we've already mentioned peanut butter, but it also has peanuts and bananas. But maybe
we already said peanut butter and bananas.
But I think I can get you back in on this. I think I can get you back in.
Yeah.
13.4% ABV.
Yeah. You know that bourbon barrel age is going to be strong. But they also
like wine.
It's a stout, which I don't love stouts. Sometimes they're great, sometimes they're terrible. So I don't know. I bet I would like this. I think I'm going to like it. It also sounds a little like you could chew it. Right? This sounds thick. Like you might have to floss after drinking a glass of this stuff. But I'm down. Yeah, I need to try that kind of stuff.
Now here's the late Norm Macdonald talking to David Letterman about the late Bob Uecker.
He's a very, very funny man, and I often go in the booth with him, you know.
Oh, sure.
So one time we were there, and John Fogerty was in the audience. Mm-hmm. You know, a fortunate son, you know. So John Fogerty was there. So Bob Uecker is a very interesting guy. He thinks of everybody as the same. He doesn't think of people as stars or anything like that. He's a very down-to-earth guy. So he was talking to me, and he says, "Hey, man, you know that guy?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "That's John Fogerty, rock and roll singer." So I go, yeah, I know who it is. He goes, "Yeah, man." He goes, "But I played in a golf tournament with him." He goes, "You probably think of him as some that likes to bite the heads off of chickens, but this guy can."
That's exactly how I think of him.
This guy can get it out of the sand trap like nobody's business. So he goes, he's got a hell of a set of pipes on him. He goes, come the seventh inning stretch, I'll have him up here. He'll sing for you. So I said, no, Bob, don't do that. Like, don't have him come up and sing for me, please, you know. He goes, what's the matter, man? Don't you even know who he is? He got all mad. So I go, yes, Bob, I know who he is. He did Creedence Clearwater Revival. Yeah. He goes, yeah, he did all that.
That is great. We'll miss Norm Macdonald and Bob Uecker. It's time for Throwdowns here on Murf and Andy.
Throwdowns. It's Throwdowns. Backed by Heartland Tire and Auto.
All right, let's throw it down. Andy on two guys while talking about the lack of buzz for the CFP championship game Monday night. Hassel said he's more interested in Bills-Ravens Sunday than Ohio State-Notre Dame Monday. If you could only watch one game, which are you choosing?
Yeah, I heard that, and I agree with him. The most compelling NFL game of the weekend or the national championship game in college football, I don't know what it is. I mean, those are, you don't get two bigger names than Ohio State and Notre Dame. I don't really know what it is. Why don't I care more about that game? I'm not.
Is it
first
because
of all, the Monday sucks?
Yeah,
hate
Monday
having
sucks.
it on the Monday.
Well, is it because most people dislike both these programs? I know Ohio State fans love Ohio State.
Yeah.
I know Notre Dame fans love Notre Dame, but they're both more disliked than liked.
In every other sport, though, like even though the biggest names are disliked, they are the biggest draws.
That brings audience, that brings buzz when you have when you have teams that
Yankees,
that people,
Dodgers, everybody hates them.
Absolutely,
But that's
people
the
want to
biggest
see them
watch.
lose, but they line up. But
I think it's taking too long. Like it feels like college football
it's too
should
drawn
have been
out.
over by now. It really, really is. Murph, other than Bills Ravens, which NFL game is most intriguing to you this weekend? You got Texans at the Chiefs, the Commanders at the Lions, and the Rams at the Eagles.
It's Commanders Lions for me. I would like to see the Lions do well for all the reasons we've already said many times on here. But the Commanders, with 13 wins already and a rookie quarterback who's just been sensational. Jaden Daniels is fun to watch, and I think a lot of people question him as the number 2 pick, even though he won the Heisman Trophy. He's been great, and the Lions' defense is so decimated by injuries. This is going to be a shootout, I think. So that would be my second choice, and close to being my first.
yeah, I think going by the math, you would pick Rams Eagles, but I agree. I'm more interested in the Lions than the other teams remaining. And I think also, isn't everybody just still standing around waiting for the Lions to act like they're supposed to act when a team is this injured? For how long have we been talking about the Lions' injuries? Since Aiden Hutchinson went down?
And there's so many.
Most of the season, we keep pointing it out, and they just keep winning football games.
All right, Andy, my wife has had the flu all week, which sucks for her, but also kind of sucks for me. What's worse, you being sick or your wife being sick?
Yeah.
Careful.
I mean, you feel terrible when your wife is sick and they're, I mean, it's like when you have a good relationship and a good marriage, you have a lot of shared responsibilities, right? I mean, you split up the duties, you split up the work, right? And you're married long enough, you don't really know how to even do the work that she does, right? And maybe she doesn't know how to do the work that you do. I mean, there's certain things you share and you know how to do it, but you're like, all of a sudden it's like this, when your spouse is the one who's sick, it's like, not only do you feel bad for them and you hear them, coughing and hacking all over the place, but also the stuff that they do falls, you've got to at least help, if not just completely do all of it. And then you realize, you're like, holy shit, she does all this stuff? Or, how do you do it? You don't even know. And you feel bad going up there and being like, hey, I know you're really sick. How do you do this? When am I supposed to be here to pick up the kids?
Where is gymnastics?
It's crazy.
My first thought was to be a smartass and say, it's clearly me. But Andy has brought up some good points that land with me even more, I think, because Jenny does most everything. And part of the reason she does is because when I try to do something, she's such a perfectionist and controlling, and I want things to be done the right way kind of way, that when I do something, it's not up to her standards. So even when I'm really trying, she's like, I'll do it. You
just
don't know
leave
what
it.
you're
You're
doing.
just making a bigger mess.
You're making it worse. So when she's sick, production comes to a standstill.
Yeah, the hardest thing for me hasn't been getting the kids to all their practices and appointments and to and from school and all that stuff. It's been feeding myself dinner, because I can feed the kids dinner every night. I can make chicken nuggets and mac and cheese, and my wife is eating soup and taking care of herself. I forget to eat, and I can't cook anything myself anymore, and so that's been rough. It's been a rough week for me, guys. I gotta say.
Oh, thank goodness you're on the tee.
Thank God you've got that basement and you're on the tee.
Yeah, get well soon, Judy. Ready or not, it is time for Scott School.
Scott School, Scott School, Scott School is cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey guys, in 1598, Spanish explorers named New Mexico. They called it Nueva Mexico. This happens to be centuries before Mexico was named Mexico. So yes, New Mexico was named before Mexico. And that's Scott School.
Scott School, Scott School, Scott School is cool. Yeah.
That's
What
cool.
were they calling
old
Mexico?
New Spain.
Huh.
Yeah, Mexico is just the Spanish word, or the word that they used for the Aztecs. So when the explorers came into what is now New Mexico, they're like, we're going to get the riches like they had in the old Aztec Empire. So it was the new Aztec. And then once Mexico gained its independence in 1821, I think, then they changed the name back to Mexico.
One of your
Changed
better
it to
Scott
Mexico.
schools.
Hey,
Scott School is
there was
presented
one-
by Hoodoo, the Odd Job Marketplace.
Yeah, Hoodoo. One of the highlights of my 2024 was getting to spend a few days in New Mexico. I had no idea that state was so cool.
Did you go to Breaking Bad? Did you go to the house?
We didn't go to Albuquerque, and I didn't really see any stuff like that. That doesn't paint a real good picture of New Mexico, that show.
No, it doesn't.
But we were in Santa Fe, which has got to be one of the coolest cities in North America, maybe the world. It's so cool. And the mountains, the desert, you just kind of get everything in that state. We took some amazing drives, hotter than hell in some of that part of that state, but then there was snow way up on the mountains, kind of saw it all. It was, I would live in New Mexico.
Well, I appreciate you stalling with the travel log there, Andy, but it is time for the stupid quickie poll from the mind of Scott Sipker. AD?
Yes. When in public with no tissue or handkerchief, how do you wipe your runny nose? Do you use your sleeve? Do you use your hand? You go to your shirt, like the bottom of your shirt, or do you just do the farmer's blow? Try to avoid touching it altogether.
I have a little bit of a runny nose now, and I've paid attention since I knew this was the stupid quickie poll. I do use my hand. It's like my finger. I go like, I do like the mustache.
You think that's absorbent
drag.
or something? Your skin?
Yeah, it's stupid. I haven't thought about this, but yeah, that's what I do. I guess some people, Andy, I've seen you a couple times. I don't know if it's runny nose. Do like the pinch at the bottom of your nose. I do the finger drag. Some people probably use their palm, but I'm voting hand.
I think I do the pinch when it's itching.
Okay. What about when it's running?
When it's running, first of all, I'm a big fan of the farmer's blow.
It's got to really be going though. Like
the
you
snot
gotta,
rocket.
Yeah, it's got to be like that yellow, thick stuff.
Or
You can't snot rocket the clear.
I snot rocket in the shower like pretty much every day. Get that sucker cleared out. If I'm outside, for sure do that. God, does Kahala hate that? Oh,
do you try to hit something? I mean, do you aim at anything like? And
target practice?
Yeah, like target practice. Like
no,
when you put a bullseye in the toilet.
I just try to get a really good just expectoration. Yeah. You know, right straight out of the nostril. Just express that all the way out. But other than that, I go sleeve. Sleeve.
Oh, Scott?
Yeah. All my sleeves this time of year, if I look down at them, I think, am I a 3-year-old?
They're just slick.
But
they're all crusty.
And once you got the mustache, man, you can't just let it linger, especially if you go outside. It freezes. Then you just got snot sickles. It's a bad deal. So even if I'm wearing a suit with some nice haberdashery items, I'm still... And the little snort, I guess you got to get that going.
Yeah, AD, what did you go with?
I do the hand.
You do
I shouldn't, but I do. Yeah.
What makes you look like
sense.
What makes you look like you're doing coke? Like this, the back and forth.
I think what I do. I think it's this, isn't it?
A lot of sniffing.
Yeah. What do the coke heads do? They're like.
I don't know. I haven't been around coke heads that I'm aware. Scott, what do coke heads do?
They usually don't notice, and then the snot just starts to run, and then you notice that they're getting much more upset for no particular reason about 8 minutes after they left the bathroom the last time, and then you put it all together.
Jeez. Okay. With that, we go to the NFL divisional playoffs. Scott, we waited for you because we want to talk NFL. We had a good lineup, divisional games. Texans, Chiefs, Saturday, 3:30 p.m. Chiefs favored by 8. Commanders, Lions, Saturday night. Lions favored by 9.5. A lot. Rams, Eagles, Sunday afternoon. Eagles favored by 6.5. And the most interesting line, Ravens, Bills, Sunday night, Sunday evening, starts at 5:30. Ravens favored by 1 on the road.
They look good. And
they look great.
It's getting real deep in the playoffs, which is what, Scott, kind of the point where Bills fans cover their nuts.
Oh, yeah. Divisional round. We've made it the AFC Championship one time in the last 20 years. But then, what is it? 4 out of the last 5 years, we've been bounced in the divisional round. It's, we're scared. But one of the big things to remember is that even though the Ravens blew us out earlier in the year, I should say the Bills. You guys hate it when I say we. The Bills were missing a lot of their best defenders in that game. So the Bills, I'm surprised the Ravens are favored in this game, especially in Buffalo. I'm betting that one big, taking my emotion out of it. I think that will probably be within a field goal, but I'm really looking forward to that Rams-Eagles game. I think the Rams are going to be surprising a lot of folks this weekend.
They could, and the Eagles' passing game has not worked for a while, so that will be an interesting game. Scott, are you not expecting? That's probably too strong. Do you think the Bills are going to win?
Okay, I'm changing the way I usually do this. Okay, I do. I think the Bills will win. I can't believe I said that, and it can go either way. It's a coin flip, but I think being at home is going to make a big difference here. The Baltimore Ravens have a terrible time staying away from penalties, especially on the offensive side. Lots of holds, false starts, things like that. I think the crowd will have an effect. Also, Lamar Jackson hasn't performed all that well in the playoffs in the past. This game's going to come down to what defense can hold the other offense in the red zone to field goals and what offense can score touchdowns in the red zone. Ultimately, that's what's going to make the difference in this game. The Bills' ceiling, I think, is a little lower than the Ravens' ceiling, but the Bills' floor is higher than the Ravens' floor.
Let's get to a quickie poll that goes to this game. This is a regular season award. AD?
Between these two, who would get your vote for NFL MVP, Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson?
I had been leaning strongly to Josh Allen all season. He just seemed to have those big MVP type moments. And there's no doubt across all sports, it does get in your head sometimes like, well, Lamar Jackson just won it. Somebody else needs to win it, which probably isn't fair. You should probably vote for who you think is the MVP. But as I look at these statistics, this is Lamar Jackson.
Boggling. Crazy statistics.
He's got Josh Allen in passing yards. He's got way more rushing yards, even though Allen is a great running quarterback. He's at 915 yards rushing from the quarterback position, 45 total touchdowns to 41, and they're both really good taking care of the football. Just 4 interceptions from Lamar Jackson and 6 for Josh Allen. And as I see this, that says to me Lamar Jackson is the MVP. I don't think you can make a wrong choice in this, but I am fighting my Lamar Jackson playoff bias, which is not supposed to enter into how you vote for regular season MVP. But I always question whether he can be accurate enough passing the ball when defenses tighten to win a Super Bowl. And Josh Allen hasn't proved that he can either. But I think based on the way you're supposed to measure this stuff, that Jackson's season is a little better than Allen's.
Yeah, right. You wonder, you see numbers like that from him, you see him play, and you wonder how his team ever loses.
They were spectacular. Now with Derrick Henry also a threat to run at any time.
Right. You wonder what happens, and it's, because he isn't. Sometimes he has off games. I mean, he does, even with statistics like that. But, the problem is both of these quarterbacks have had the misfortune of playing at the end of the Tom Brady era and the beginning of the Patrick Mahomes era. I mean, it's just like they played continuously in a shadow. I mean, shadow has changed shapes, but it's still a shadow. I think I would pick. I don't like it when people make a pick just because somebody else needs to win sometime. I don't like that. I mean, who's the best player, period? I don't care who won last year. Talk about this year. Who's the best actor? Who's the best, who's the best, right? Tell me who the best is, not who is deserving of it or, would mean the most to. I will say this, though. I feel like there's a better chance the Chiefs lose this game than the AFC Championship game.
Because they'll have the full attention and it goes through Kansas City again. Scott,
I just do, yeah.
Would your vote be for Josh Allen?
My bias is 100% with Josh Allen.
He's
when
worthy.
You look at how much they lost on the offensive side of the ball. So it was a slower start this year, but he carried them to a lot of victories. However, when I look at the strength of schedule, the Ravens played a harder schedule than the Bills did. And as much as I want Josh to win, I think if I'm forced to vote, I got to go with Lamar Jackson. That hurts. But, you got to be honest with these sorts of things.
Yeah.
I can make a passionate argument for Josh Allen. Anybody can. It's very close, like this game will be.
He threw a touchdown to himself.
He sure did. He's great, and you're in
greatest
every
quarterback
game with
sneak
John.
quarterback in the country.
He's great.
Yeah,
but
he is.
for this season, I think Lamar will win the MVP, and this will be his third. But I think
I disagree. I think
fingers
Josh
crossed.
Allen's going to win.
Okay. Well, Lamar got
Side
first
bet.
team All Pro, so
Yeah.
those people vote. I think it'll be Lamar. Side bet.
All right. Oh, we got a side bet. Let's get some more here on a Friday.
But wait, there's more. From Either Or Eatery and Patio.
I love this. Who are these guys?
This is
Andrew?
Chad Engles, listener. Chad Engles sent us
We know
this picture.
Chad.
Yeah.
He's a regular contributor to the show, and he took his family to Either Or, and he sent us a picture. I like that.
Thank you,
just
Chad.
figured we'd like to see that they stopped in. I hope they had a good time.
That they did.
Yeah, I hope they did really well there and really enjoyed themselves at
I
Either
see
Or.
smiles.
We certainly do. They probably saw Keith in there. Did you see that family in there?
I don't recall seeing the Engles family, no.
Today is National Fig Newtons Day, and man, I used to eat a ton of those things. I feel like at my school, or probably any other school at that time, if you looked in every kid's lunchbox, it feels like Fig Newtons would be in at least 70% of those lunchboxes, right? I mean, they
I
were
don't
that
think about Fig
ubiquitous.
Newtons, but I used to eat those all the time too.
All
man.
the time.
Those keep you regular.
I think that's why the guy started them too. He actually invented those things to help keep himself moving. But man, they were everywhere. And real quick, the list of my top cookies as a kid. These are the cookies that name brand cookies here. I'm not talking about homemade cookies, which are always better. Name brand cookies that I had that were always around when I was a kid. Fig Newtons, already said that. Nutter Butters.
Ooh,
those
good
peanut
choice
shaped
with the
suckers.
peanut butter.
Those were good to dip in milk because they had the shape.
Underrated.
Nilla wafers, those were everywhere. They were pretty plain, right? They weren't real sugary, but weren't those everywhere
Overrated.
when you were a kid? And like moms would decorate cakes with them and stuff. They just did stuff with everything. Iced animals, the circus animals.
Overrated.
You didn't like those?
No.
Oh, those are good.
You
didn't like the ice circus? You didn't like the iced circus animals?
No, those are overrated.
Oh my God.
The frosting in that is a little chalky.
Yeah,
It's a
shut
little
down the
different.
circus.
Oh, those were good. Those bags. Oreos.
Oh,
of
now you're
course.
coming around. You're coming back.
Not Chips Ahoy. Those. Though the problem with Chips Ahoy is they're chocolate chip cookies, and everybody makes their own chocolate chip cookies. Moms made those all over the place, and dads. And those are way better than Chips Ahoy.
But you're talking about your childhood here, right? You're not including the Chips Ahoy once they came through with the breakthrough of the soft and chewy Chips Ahoy, because those are great.
No, even those.
Oh.
They suffer by comparison to homemade chocolate chip cookies. Nobody makes Oreos at home.
Nobody thinks you're going
makes
to buy
Fig
a
Newtons.
bag of cookies at the grocery store and have it taste exactly the same as homemade. The
No, you
Chips
just-
Ahoy soft ones are good.
Yeah, they were fine.
But
But
if you dip them in- if you
the
dip
made
them
at
in
home
milk-
ones were better. Is the problem?
Dipping Chips Ahoy in milk, though, you find that the structure of that chocolate chip cookie does not work. An Oreo in milk is like bread on butter.
Yeah,
That's a good combo.
Chips Ahoy are just vastly inferior chocolate chip cookies.
I said
Case
bread on butter.
closed.
That doesn't matter.
Did your dad wasn't a lawyer for Nabisco?
No, Ralston Purina though. That's kind of close. They owned Colonial Baking, which was.
Do you know what
Hostess.
Nabisco stands for? National Biscuit Company.
Makes
And that's
sense.
Scott School number 2.
Did I ever tell you about my friend Tim, whose dad drove a Fredo L truck?
What was Tim's last name?
It was not Lay. My best friend Scott Lay. That would make sense if it was his dad. Tim
Let's
Sox.
hear about Tim.
Tim Sox. Yeah, his dad drove a Fredo L truck, and they would high school. They'd go get in that truck, get all high, and eat all the chips.
So it's like the van in Fast Times at Ridgemont High, that door on the Fredo Lake truck.
I don't want to get Tim in trouble there. All right.
We're not going to hear Tim's last name.
Okay. From the Des Moines Register, did you see this? Some dumb shit ran into the front of Basic Bird in Beaverdale.
Yep.
Look at this.
This is our
Come
neighborhood.
on, man, this sucks. That is a great restaurant. I was quoting the Register directly there, but I mean, man, hit something else, right?
Nobody got hurt, thankfully. I mean,
I'm actually a little more concerned about the Basic Bird than the people.
Then someone sitting by the front?
Oh, yeah. People sitting in front than the driver. Yeah, I'm more concerned about the building than the driver. But yeah, they wrecked it, so they got to close it so they can fix it.
Do we know how this happened or why?
No, I don't really want to know.
All right,
it was a complex bird. It was upset.
Yeah, Basic is a lot less than Basic now. It's complex. Yeah. Des Moines may have to close Birdland Pool. I did this story last night. This is a tough situation. State legislature has put a cap on property taxes and is looking to do more of that. And so cities are having to really trim their budgets like crazy. And it's to the point where most of these cities are already running very lean. And they have to find more things to cut. So Des Moines is facing a $17 million budget deficit. They've got to cut a lot of money. Ben Page, the Parks and Recreation Director, who we all know, when he started with Parks and Rec in 2007, he had 147 people working full-time in that department. He has 63 now.
Wow.
So cut by more than half. They're running very, very lean, and they're just to the point where if they need, they're going to have to help out in some way to cut this deficit or cut this this budget down. And Birdland Pool is kind of one of the easiest answers. And that place has been around since the 1920s, so it's 100 years old.
A lot of kids use it.
Yeah, it's a 50-meter pool, which are a long course pool if you're a swimmer. And it's one of the very few 50-meter pools in the state. Now, Ashworth Pool has already got, they've also got a 50-meter pool. And Birdland is the most expensive to maintain and the least attended. So it does make some sense here. But at the same time, they've got that Birdland Sports Park that's been undergoing all these renovations, pickleball, futsal, new basketball courts, tennis courts. They're all getting set to open this year, and then you want to close the pool? I mean, how does that look? You got this new park all around a closed down park.
Topic for another day, but just like what the community pool meant to my childhood.
Oh my God. I know that's changed a little bit. It's probably changed a lot, but still, I hope they find a way not to do this. An Illinois man was arrested on Sunday in Wisconsin after allegedly drawing a gun during an argument over ice fishing etiquette at Racine Harbor on Lake Michigan. Just going to read this story. According to Fox 6 in Milwaukee, the argument broke out when two men began to set up their shanty just yards from Justin Dilley and his girlfriend. It was pre-dawn. The marina was deserted. Dilley told Fox 6 that he approached the men in the hope of persuading them to set up farther away. He says, "It's only us people by ourselves. Nobody else is out there. I don't know why you have to set up this close." I go, "I don't understand you guys." Well, one of the men got into his face while the other pulled a gun and began waving a pistol all over the place. Guy's been arrested and charged. Now, that's terrible, but but that's terrible. And I understand what Justin Dilley is upset about. Any fisherman can tell you it drives you nuts when you're out fishing, there's a big lake all around you, and then somebody pulls up right next to you.
Yeah,
and
this is the ice fishing version of there are 8 urinals. You're all the way on the left. There's 7 urinals available, and somebody walks in and stands in the urinal right next to you, you're uncomfortable, and you're annoyed. Use one of the other urinals that are open.
Yeah,
Why
yeah.
are you crowding my chili?
Our friend Kenny Pink is famous for saying, "Big lake, guys. Big lake, fellas."
Get to
He's
see
just like,
some
what?
of it.
Do you not see the other person right there? And ice fishing, my God. I mean, there's nobody else out there. What are you doing? Just go set up farther away. Well, that guy packed a gun. He was probably like, I'm going to set up right next to this guy. And if he says something about it, I'm going to be ready to answer
It's
with my
possible
gun.
that was the best fishing spot, and sometimes those are worth fighting for, Andy.
Well, I'm sure it's Lake
Big Lake,
Michigan.
guys.
Yeah, Big Lake, guys. Speaking of Wisconsin, here again is the great Bob Uecker in St. Louis. He's with Bob Gibson, Mike Shannon, Tim McCarver, and some of the others from the 1964 World Series championship team, sharing some of their memories of that incredible season.
Yeah, no, I had a nice time here. I remember the big part of the World Series for me, and I think those of us who were there would remember
the tuba.
When no, not the tuba so much. It was the Cardinals asking me. They wanted to make a move to play down Maxville and asked me if I would take an injection of hepatitis. So they could make that roster move, and but I think any of us who have been with a championship team, I think the one thing that we all remember is the ring ceremony, which is important to every player who's ever played the game. And I remember the following year, our ring ceremony that night, and they threw mine in the left field. I was in the bullpen warming up the starting pitcher, and I found it in the fifth inning. And
what a great storyteller.
The timing there, man, the timing is just great. It's just slick. He's great. All right, the days of hanging out at Starbucks and using their Wi-Fi and bathrooms without buying something appear to be over. Later this month, customers will be required to buy something before being allowed to use these services. As a consolation, those customers who do buy something and decide to hang out for a while will be offered free refills on coffee drinks. So, fellas, stopping in for a shit is really an odd arrangement, isn't it? I mean, think about it. Just like we're all so used to it. It seems like, it just should be. It just should always be. But like just the idea of stopping at the gas station or just anywhere else and being like, I'm gonna shit in the bathroom in here. Okay, I'm not buying anything. I'm just using your bathroom. And then I
never do that.
You wouldn't do that to somebody's house, though, would you?
Don't you always buy something? Don't you feel like there's this is a transactional deal?
No, not always.
Going
Sometimes
in here, I owe you something. There's no toll. I feel like
there's no poop toll.
I feel like there is.
Toll.
I feel like there's it's AD. Are you with me here? You buy something. You buy a pack of gum or a soft drink, something.
Yeah, I do feel weird going in and just using the bathroom. Yeah, I do.
These two don't. They don't care. They'll go in there and squat.
I do care a little bit, but sometimes you're just in a hurry. But it's just a weird arrangement. I mean, I don't think they expect you to buy anything. But how did that start?
Yeah,
right?
and the person
there's a
at the
school for you.
The person at the register. Like, they don't care. They're just working a shift. They're hardworking people. They probably don't care at all. But
and if you walk up there with that pack of gum, though, how obvious is it to them that you just went and took a shit?
Guys, this is America. We don't pay to use the bathroom. You want to do that? Go to Europe. Here in America, you're free to shit wherever you want.
And that's like the most incredible thing that you see if you go to Europe and you're like, a pay toilet? What the hell is this? But that is fair. Isn't it?
It does seem like it is. And this, to your Starbucks point, though, don't you, if you have enough time, don't you start strategically planning, like for a place is clean?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if you have, but sometimes you don't have time.
Yeah,
like
and then those standards come down.
Like when you had to pull to the side of the road there by the adult bookstore in Newton.
Yeah. Oh, in Colfax. Almost didn't make it. Yeah.
What's it called?
I wanted
like
a
the
nice
Lion's
bathroom
Den or something?
Yeah, the
Lion's
Lion's Den. Oh yeah, you know what it is, Murph. You know it's the Lion's Den. Yeah, I wanted a nice bathroom, and then I wanted a bathroom, and then I just wanted like a dark alley, and then I was just like, I want a nice abandoned road.
I just want to be
and
out
then
of
after
the
a while, I was
car.
like, I got to get out of the car. That's it, right? And then, yeah, your standards come down in a hurry. From the files of some headlines don't need stories, we'll bring you this. New York City gym teacher accused of lewd act with cleaning product. Gym teacher Dana Barsdorf stands accused of allegedly inserting his genitalia into a Lysol container in front of a class. In addition, Barsdorf has been accused of wiping his butt with a Lysol wipe in front of 6 students 11 years old and under. Well, first off, that is a lot of brand loyalty there. But what?
There's got to be something else.
Mr. Barsdorf, what?
Mr. Barsdorf is off.
You don't put your ding dong in the Lysol. I mean,
it's a rule to live by.
I think that was one of the 10 Commandments, wasn't it?
First day, they go over that. First day, right? And
That's a T-shirt.
Nobody needs that repeated to them.
AD, do you want to get those going today over at AKC Marketing?
Yep. If
Keep
I ever
your
get
ding
back to
dong
work.
out of the Lysol. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He's got to get back to work. We're like at 2:30.
Oh, my God, man. I'm sorry. All right, fine. I'll finish with this. The top signs your teens think you are embarrassing. Yeah, the top ways you're embarrassing your teen as a parent.
Good.
Top signs you're an embarrassing parent. An embarrassing parent. You've attempted to do viral dance routines from TikTok. May not have to worry about that, though. You use youth slang words. Yeah, when you're trying to sound hip. You try to impress your child's friends. Okay.
What if kids are just impressed by you? Like, it seems to happen to me. Like, kids
just your
find me-
natural heat.
Yeah, they're just like, that guy is cool. I think he's one of us.
Your
'Cause you're
natural
not a parent
riz.
yet.
Yeah.
Oh,
your riz.
okay.
Yes. You kiss your children in front of their friends.
Oh don't
yeah.
do that.
Elon is at that stage now. I go give her a big kiss on a cheek in front of her friend. Oh, Dad.
The kids initiate that with me now that they're grown. Not
kiss you.
Yeah, but in front of their friends.
Really?
And how did that make you feel, Keith? Are
Do
you like,
your
not
friends
in
get
front of-
embarrassed? Yeah. Do you get embarrassed in front of your friends now?
No, I think that's the best demonstration of love when your kids are so secure in how you feel about them and they feel about you that they just come up and give you a big hug and a kiss in front of their friends. I always appreciate that.
I hope you're using a lot of Lysol in your house, Murph.
Not
Stay clean.
everywhere.
All right. You have a Karen haircut. I had to look this up. Andrew says this is the Karen haircut.
Yeah.
Is that totally a Karen haircut or what? Those of you listening on audio, another reason to jump on YouTube.
Yeah, give us a like.
You're missing
subscribe,
out.
please.
That's a Karen haircut. You add your children's friends on social media.
Oh.
You kiss your partner in public. Oh man, yeah,
do
my
that.
kids get bombed. They bomb on us. Colin, I kiss a lot.
Do you give her any honks, like either the butt or the boob honk in public right around them?
Honk, honk.
Honk,
What are you honking? Which side you honking?
Well, either the
Top or bottom?
or the bottom.
Yeah,
Top?
both at the same time. You got two hands.
Oh, it's Friday.
Yeah, all right. You wear skinny jeans. You borrow your teens' clothes. You sing along to your favorite songs at the top of your voice. You post selfies on social media. I do know parents that do that. And you listen to the same music as your kids. That embarrasses them when you do that. That's your more, everybody.
This seems like a great time to thank AKC Marketing for making the Murf and Andy merch store so popular. Not the Iowa Everywhere merch store. It's not the Murf and Andy merch store, although our merch is available there too. And see down in the bottom corner, if you're watching on YouTube, AKC Marketing. That's where AD works and is currently in one of the longer lunch breaks in AKC Marketing history.
Yeah, hopefully I still work there.
Oh, come on.
They got great folks over there. We love them.
We've been talking about some important stuff today.
Which leads me to make one correction here. When we know we've made a mistake, we want to correct the mistake because it's important. The adult store off the interstate is the Fox's Den, not the Lion's Den.
No.
Well, when did that happen?
True.
It didn't used to be. It used to be the Lion's Den.
I think it's pouring in the corn.
Oh, well, we were corrected. Time for the Andrew Downs audio drop of the day. We call it the AD squared.
Yeah, it's powered by Game Day Men's Health. I was over at the Ankeny location yesterday getting my weekly tea shot. You can go there. You can go to West Des Moines or North Liberty in the eastern side of the state. They'll help you out with whatever you need. It is Friday, so some parental advisory is necessary here. None of these bleeps are necessary. It's all innocent conversation, but I have placed bleeps to make you hear things that weren't actually said. Shout out to Mackenzie Edie, who gets her first ever appearance in unnecessary censorship here.
Oh, big moment for her.
What you hear is on you, not us. It's This Week in Iowa. Unnecessary censorship.
You go in the door, it smells like black pepper. You step into the lobby, and it smells like oregano. And then you go down the hallway, and it smells like
I always find it awkward when somebody is just a lengthy and they go do an interview.
The first time you wrap your lips around one of those
Why would you do this to yourself?
If you're wearing this suit, wouldn't the main advantage be you can just your pants?
I love to be a My husband is an excellent I think I am raising 3 excellent
Biggest, oh my God, moment in the history of that show is when the guy comes on that's married to the horse.
Yes, the horse isn't him. He is the horse on the stage.
And there are some people, my wife is one that just does not want to watch women each other. That kind of makes her more uncomfortable when it's women boxing, fighting.
The picture of Jenny just made it even better. Another reason to consume this show on YouTube.
Yes.
Before we get to the poll, I was going to just throw out a little selfish plug because it's the longest show ever. We at Hoodoo, we're doing this new thing called Flip It Forward, where we're buying a house that needs a lot of tender love and care. We're going to flip it, putting every single project on Hoodoo, and then we're going to sell it to a family who maybe needs a good break. We can't give it away, but we're going to sell it for what we put in, and then hopefully they'll have a house that has $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 in equity, and they can get a good start or a new start, whatever it may be. And this comes out of the brilliant mind of Derek Stratton, our founder and CEO, and that we're so excited to do this. And we haven't got the submissions all figured out yet, but start thinking in your head out there, listeners, of folks who deserve this. We're a veteran-owned company, so we're looking at that, but a single mom, family in need, that's maybe looking for a good break. So follow us if you can. It'll be a Flip It Forward with Hoodoo. We're all on the socials. And download.
I don't even have anything snarky to say about that. I think that's a really nice idea.
Nice.
Quickie poll results are presented by WCI Pools and Spas.
Did Iowa State dominate Kansas in the Cyclone's 17-point win? 78% say yes, it did. And when in public with no tissue or handkerchief, how do you wipe your runny nose? Sleeve, hand, shirt, or farmer's blow? 37% go with the hand.
Jeez.
30% go with the sleeve. 26% say farmer's blow, and only 8% go with the shirt.
The farmer's blow with a surprising backing.
Yeah, well, we are in Iowa.
It's the people who use the bottom of their shirt in public that's really weird. The sleeve's okay, but if you're going all the way up like this, no good.
How about the people that have the honking nose when they blow that? I think that's a genetic thing.
Honk.
And you can hear them like Dan Hendrickson does in the newsroom.
Sound like a goose or a duck or something.
It's like my grandpa.
Who was the MVP vote? Third poll, was it Allen?
Josh Allen leads that 63-37 over Lamar Jackson.
Well, that was a fun show. Hopefully, AD will...
Friday's over.
Yeah, I'm done. You guys done?
It's almost time to go back to work on Sunday.
Yeah, AD's got to go to work right now.
Go work.
Thank you for being part of Murf and Andy and for supporting local media. We really appreciate it. We'd appreciate it if you would like and review down at the bottom of your screen there. If you're watching on YouTube, give us a like, subscribe on whatever platform you found us. It really helps, and we appreciate it here at Iowa Everywhere. We're back Monday. Have a great weekend. We hope you're back Monday, too.